Hey folks, this is Dan, and I know a lot of animation cats out there are, like me, excited about this OpenToonz software. And I thought I'd just give a quick start. I've been playing around with it a little bit, and I see that some people are having a hard time rendering video, and so I wanted to kind of give a quick overview of, how to go from beginning to end just quickly, and my impressions, I guess, on the workflow. So if you've been reading the news items, then you've seen that this is decked out in features that were specific to Studio Ghibli's workflow. They even called it the Studio Ghibli edition. But if you read into it, then you'd see that that Studio Ghibli, which obviously we all know, they do a lot of handwork, like hand painted backgrounds, and a lot of pencil input. They were using it basically for ink and paint, which is the part of the process where you basically you have cleaned up pencil work, and then you're going over it with, in this case, I guess it'd be like, digital ink and digital painting. So you can actually see this reflected in the way the layout of the tabs are: cleanup, palette, edit, ink and paint, and X sheet, and then a batch processor, which I don't know. I don't have any processes that can work with that, but it seems like you can load up some pretty cool stuff and batch process. It seems like they have a whole scripting language, so it seems like a pretty powerful tool set. But the whole, my suggestion for people starting out is to go straight to the browser tab. I know that's super boring, but the browser tab is going to be your first place. And the browser tab allows you to create new projects. What's really weird about the tab structure in Toonz is that each tab has its own file system, its own menu system. Like we're accustomed to having, like, say, the files menu as part of like our main go-to area. So the layout's a little bit odd, but basically you go to the browser and pick a new project, and then you name the project, and then every project in Toonz has a folder tree for the various things that you'll save in your project, and the assets that you'll bring into your project. So, like in this case, I'd say here's Dan's. I always use underscores, project, and then I would say I could just call it inputs, drawings, scenes, extras, outputs, palettes, scripts, and I haven't quite gotten the hang of what every folder is specifically for, but as far as I can tell, inputs are I believe things that you scan in. I could be wrong about that. Drawings are like drawings that you would, like, individual assets that you would maybe import into the program. And what's cool about these folders, you can actually just copy stuff over into the folders, and then they appear as part of your project asset list, which you'd then be able to explore inside the browser tab. Extras are like for, it's sort of like a throwaway miscellaneous folder. Scenes, so you have a project, which is like the main item for this, right? Which includes a folder hierarchy. And then inside of your projects, you have multiple scenes, right? Or possibly multiple scenes, right? So, like, let's say if you're working on a movie, you might make the movie as a project, and then each of your shots might be individual scenes. And then your scripts are for your script processing. This is its scripting language that's built into this. And then your palettes are your color palettes. And, again, this is really focused around the Studio Ghibli's use of this product. So anyway, I like it. I hit OK. And then what it does is inside the OpenToonz root folder, it adds a new project. You can see here, I've got Dan's project. The red dot means that is the active project that we're exploring. So if I wanted to switch back over to the project that I had before, exercise 10, then I just click that red dot, and now I'm in that project. So that's basically how the project hierarchy works. And then inside of your projects, like here, for example, I have a scene. So I can go inside my exercise 10. I've got a scene that I built as like just a test, and I just called it main scene. And I can load that up. Whoop, did I do that? Yeah, here. And then inside the main scene, I have like a scene browser, and I can look at the assets that are part of that scene, like individual cells that I've either scanned in or have imported, or say audio assets that I brought in. And that's actually one thing that's really cool. If you're like me and you're sort of a traditional animation geek, and I'm totally a hobbyist. I'm actually an audio producer, audio designer by trade. So this is just sort of for fun kind of thing for me. But there's like almost no free or low cost software out there that supports what this supports. Like as far as multiple audio layers and I don't know how thousands of frames. I don't know how. I haven't seen a limit yet. So anyway, that's the browser, and then the rest kind of goes in the normal order that you'd expect. In the cleanup tab, you have a place to scan in your cells or your project. In this case, the expectation is that you'd be taking a paper pencils, like clean pencils, and then scanning them in, and then adding them to your X sheet, and then you would ink and paint those inside of the project. So the cleanup section is where you do that. Then you'd have the palette edit where you can load up custom palettes. Like say, for example, you had a color palette for your main character, right? You would want to save that, and you'd want to be able to use it from scene to scene, like every scene that the main character is in. And then you can manage your palettes here and then create new ones. So this is all just about color management. And then the ink and paint section, which is what everyone's been focusing on so far in their videos, is where you can like actually start drawing into the frames. And then you have your X sheet. And I mean, like I haven't seen a limit on how many layers you can have. They call them columns. But yeah, it just seems to kind of go on forever. And same with the rows or frames. It just like I've scrolled down, I've set it up like scrolled down thousands and thousands of frames, and it's just like, wow, we could have I could have like a minute, 2 minute, 3 minute. Our scenes can be really long in this, which is really unheard of for free software. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I've been using two other products besides before messing around with this, and that's I've been using Digicel Flipbook, the light version, which has resolution limitations. And I've been using Monkey Jam, which is like a ghetto-ass piece of pencil test software, but it does support like a single audio layer, and you can do basically some X sheet management, and this is pretty incredible so far what it offers. So anyway, what I've done here is I've loaded up a background, and you can actually see this this little hand draw. This is from an animation exercise that I did a little while ago, and I thought I'd just sort of reconstruct it in here. Now I haven't figured out how to batch import individual frames that I've already scanned in. This is kind of bumming me out right now because my scanner is not supported, so I can't scan directly into the software, and my scanner is like kind of ghetto, so it doesn't have any Twain drivers, so or usable Twain drivers. Let's put it that way. So I just, I haven't figured out exactly how to drop these in. This is about, I don't know, like 80, 90 frames. So I had to hand drag these into the software. Now, the cleanup, I just tested it out. The cleanup section kind of works all right. It's basically just, a quick contrast or brightness setting, or if you have it on color, then you can do some, basic color adjustments. But they're really just, trying to clean up the pencils so that you can then trace over them in the ink and paint section. That's sort of the goal as far as I can tell from how this is set up. What the quick way to sort of sort this out, and I'll show you on my background, is under the cleanup menu, go to processing and then do preview cleanup. And there is, then you can go over here and start adjusting your settings, until you like what you see. That's if you need to clean up that particular file. So that's the cleanup section. Now I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So importing frames, if you're like me and you're sort of more of a traditional animation nerd, then importing frames, I've just been dragging and dropping them in here, or pulling them from the browser hierarchy. And you can see they're all I kind of stashed them in the extras. I just have like a folder that I just grabbed and stashed them in here. And I have these terrible names, like don't name anything like I've been naming things. But yeah, like I can actually add a layer. So this is they use this thing called levels. Levels, as far as I can tell, a level, because I've never used that term before, a level is a frame or a cell. Let's put it that way. So like if I wanted to create a new level, I create a new level. I can name the level. Let's say if I was going to draw animation, like some people want to do, if they want to draw animations right into the software, you want to create a new level, and I gotta name that. Sorry, name that level. We'll say that's there. We'll go A, and then I think it'll auto increment. Yeah, so there it auto incremented it. So it gave a 1, and then I saw someone extend the keyframe with extend the frame with a key stroke, a shortcut, which you can configure in the configure shortcuts section. But I've just been dragging them down, which works pretty well for me. So yeah, and it's a little messy. So like here, maybe I've dragged it too far, and I got to remove it. Then I have to go and actually use a remove frame command. So some of it is kind of awkward. I don't even know where the remove frame. Some of this stuff is not very. This is the weird part. All of the menus, like here, for example, I got to go to the X sheet to find the command for the remove frame, because it's about managing your X sheet, right? So there's some logic behind it. So you kind of think of like these tabs as like jobs, and maybe in a big animation studio, one person would basically spend most of their time in one of these tabs. You know, the maybe the inkers and painters would just be sitting in the ink and paint section all day long, and you know, who knows, the supervisors would be sitting in the X sheet all day long. And there's some weird stuff that's all about, you know, there's a lot of collaborative elements in this software, which is really interesting. Like they have server rendering, and they have like a messaging system, and you can do notes, which I just think is really cool. So like if I was working on this cell and I was like, hey, you know, note, this cell needs a drawing, you know, and then I can post it. And then there's a little note for, you know, whoever might open up the project and say, oh, look, there's a note waiting for me. And, you know, maybe you've got different colors based on the team. So like, you know, someone is orange and someone else is yellow. And so, or you have different categories of notes. It's kind of cool. And then you can discard it when you're like, oh, I don't care about that. So, all right, so I don't want this anymore. I'm going to just delete this. And there we go. I just deleted the column, the whole column. All right, so now we've added some frames. We've done some cleanup. A couple things that I've noticed, like I brought in some the default when I first installed the software for the project had a different resolution than the images that I was bringing in. And so resizing the images, basically what I did is under output settings, you just need to define your camera resolution. And so what I did is I used use current level settings. So you can select one of your levels. Remember, a level is just a frame. So you can select one of your levels and then just say, hey, I want the camera to adjust to that level, and then you just hit boop, and that's why this red dotted line, that's the camera view. So, you know, like here, I could, if I wanted to, I could change, this is, you know, I could change the pixels, you know, let's say 1920, you know, and then the camera is a lot bigger, right, than my frame. So you know, if you wanted to, if you had like a project that was of specific resolution, and then you were just bringing in assets that were maybe different size, like you were, you know, maybe scanning some stuff in that's like, you know, 10 field, and you've got like this big, you know, 4K project, obviously those assets, you're probably going to size them differently. So yeah, and they have multiple cameras, and they've got like a 3D systems. I haven't figured out how to use that, but you can like layer, you know, you can set up your layers and like and like have depth to them. So anyway, I'm going to go back to use current level settings. So my camera is fitting around that. And the same can be said for the cleanup settings. I can just say use current level settings to pull that resolution information right out of, basically sampling the resolution information. So now my frame works, right? Like the camera is looking at the part of the image that I want it to look at. I've got a background. I've got a cleaned up pencil that if I remember correctly, I didn't get transparency until the cleanup process, so that might be part of it. I don't have to activate onion skin to see the layers, but you know, if I did activate onion skin, you just right click, activate the onion skin, and then you can see, you know, the trails. Excuse me. All right, so I'm going to deactivate that. Okay. So I've got this cleaned up pencils. Now, if I was going to set up, you know, this for like I was going to actually do some inking and painting, then I'd set up my palette here. I would draw in here, and you can just activate the toolbar, as you might have seen on some other videos, just like that. And you can access the the console if you want. You know, there's options. There's a lot of context menus in this software. So just get used, as you explore, just get used to right-clicking on things and seeing what's available to you. There's also a lot of stuff that I feel like in the configure shortcuts menu, like I haven't seen, like there's stuff in here that I haven't seen on other menus. So it's also, I think it'd be a good idea to just sort of sift through this and like look around and poke and say, what is that? What does that do? What does that do? And sort of check things out. Now, that reminds me, which I'll get back to the X sheet. So one of the things that I did with the X sheet was I brought, let me just make some new cells here. Oh, oops. Yeah. Oh, I still have that cell in. We'll do B real quick. And a lot of menus have OK or apply and then cancel, like these three. And as far as I can tell, apply allows you to do the thing that you want to do and then keep the menu open. So if you want to do it over and over and over again. So like, I guess I can't do that over and over again. For some reason, I can't select another level, but that's what I've noticed. Okay, so yeah, I already did that. Okay, so let's do a new level. Will it increment for me? Let's see if it'll increment it. Nope. There's probably short ways of doing a lot of things that I'm trying to do here. Actually, let me just do C. Just quick demo this. Oops. So with these individual frames, I dragged them in one by one, and then what I did is I right-clicked on them in the X sheet. I right-clicked on them, and then I reframed them on twos. So there's interesting things you can do there, like if you want to, adjust the sort of incrementation of your frames. So, mess around with those. That's really useful, obviously. I'm just going to delete that. Now, look at this from Studio Ghibli's perspective, right? So we did the cleanup. We have our colors all edited. We loaded up our color palette for our main character or whatever. We've inked and painted our character, and we've managed the X sheet for time. Now we want to render. Well, there it is, render. So what I've done is I go to the output settings, and then under the file settings, you'll see an option for movie. I could do an AVI or a movie file. So I selected movie, and then under options, it gives me a codec menu. Okay, what kind of movie? I prefer H.264. Obviously your preferences may vary. I hit OK. Yep. Main scene, and then I can name it. Let's say I did main scene 2 or something like that, right? So now I've got these output settings set up. And then I go, and if I want to preview, I can preview. And I'll do like a quick render. And it looks like whoops. Sorry, I accidentally docked that. All right. And then I can look through and like, oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. So then once I'm satisfied with the preview, I hit render. And what it does is it basically renders it to the outputs folder of my project. So as that's finishing up, I'll throw that up here and we can look. Here's the OpenToonz stuff folder. I don't know why they called itself stuff, but that was like how it installed on my computer. And you just go into projects, and then you can see there's the dance project that I started at the beginning of the video, and then there's exercise 10. That's this project, and then under the output section, there's main scene. There's the one that I just did, main scene 2. So if I load this up in Windows Media Player or your viewer of choice, then there you go. We've got a rendered video. So there's still stuff to figure out. I was very satisfied a couple times when I was like really feeling cramped, and I was like, oh, I can actually just grab. Let me get rid of this menu. I can just grab the X sheet and move it to my second monitor. Like, why not? And dock it back if I want. There you go. Boom, it's back. So all of these can be undocked and redocked. So it's actually, it feels like it doesn't have a great user interface, but it's actually pretty decent. So I'm interested in seeing what everyone else figures out. We're all just sort of new to this right now, but it's exciting stuff. Oh yeah, also just real quick, I wanted to mention, because I just thought it was cool, was it has actually a killer audio support. So it as far as I can tell, it only supports wave. Maybe it supports AVE too, but I'm not sure. But if you just drag and drop a wave onto a new layer, you get this gorgeously rendered optical audio track. I mean, look at this. And it plays nice, and you can have multiple audio tracks, which is just killer. So if you're working on like a conversation, between two characters, there's lots of opportunities here. So, and then of course this stuff shows up in your scene browser. So yeah, that's I think that's pretty much all I've figured out so far. So that should be enough for people to start rendering videos, and importing their own stuff and drawing. Check out some of the other ones. I didn't get into like actual drawing tools, but it's just drawing. I mean, it's not like you guys have done that before. It's Photoshop stuff. So check out the other videos for the drawing stuff. But yeah, all right. This was way too long. Sorry, guys.